तो मैं इसे करनी सीख गई।
मैं 10 साल से सीख रही हूँ।
ये बोल रहा है हाँ
समझ में आती है, बोलना थोड़ा आता है।
मुझे कुछ नहीं आता, मुझे बात करते सर से उठ जाती है।
मुझको बस आता है,
मुझे बस पोरे और मुर्गी बस याद है, पोरे और मुर्गी।
वो क्या है?
बॉय एंड गर्ल, बॉय एंड गर्ल।
अच्छा अच्छा, लड़की को तो मुर्गी बोलते हैं ना, मुर्गी एंड लड़का को मुर्गा।
मैं पहले मुर्गा मुर्गी बोलता था।
मी मराठी मुलगी आहे, माझं नाव समर्पिता आहे चौधरी. मी इकडे बसलो, तू इकडे बस, तू इकडे चला, मी इकडे चला.
गुड
हाँ और मेरा प्रोजेक्ट है इससे से माझं बाइक तो नहीं आती है. For an functionality by Geo, authentic quality, perfect in the their design studio.
तो वो काफी
तो एक काम को तुम्हें राजस्थान में जाके तो अपना काम दे कि we are not going to switch off this. This is English class and from now onwards it's like from now
Abraham and peace generation.
चुप कर. हाँ. So now we are going to speak in English only.
Okay.
No Hindi language is going to be
मुझे
spoken.
क्या
You are supposed to speak in English. Nitika.
अच्छा जब तीन ही लड़कियां होती है, तीसरी तो क्यों दूसरी बेंच लेनी?
अच्छा चुटकी.
ए दैट इज ऑफेंसिव, ठीक है ना? बटली है वो, हमसे वो छोटा
चुटकी है चुटकी है.
Where did you get this from?
जब
मुझे चाहिए
होगा.
भाई नहीं, मेरे को पैंट्स भी पता है, मैं मेन सेक्शन में रहती हूँ, तो लड़कियों की पैंट्स की लेती हूँ.
हाँ.
मेरे सेक्शन में आता है. मेरे को लाइक वुमेन सेक्शन की जीन्स मेरे एंकल के ऊपर आती है. बैगी जीन्स जो तुम लोग पहनते हो ना, मेरे लिए हाई वेस्टेड शॉर्ट कैपरी जीन्स. भाई
तो लड़कों के सेक्शन में जाती है.
लड़कों के सेक्शन में टी-शर्ट्स के लिए. This is the only pant that I have ordered that sags at my feet. Okay, it sags at it, and I love it so much. कुछ ये women से bonkers के पैंट्स है. मैंने इसका लार्जेस्ट साइज अवेलेबल ऑर्डर किया और कमर से ऑर्डर किया.
ओके
छोटा है. मेरे को नैना की लेंथ इतनी छोटी पड़ती है ना, स्किनी जीन्स के टाइम पे ना लेगिंग्स लगते थे वो इतने तक. अब बैगी हो गए तो ऐसे नीचे फ्लैट बस खत्म. मैं लड़की चाहिए, मैं यूएस के मेन सेक्शन में मिलूंगी तुमको जीन्स ट्राई करते हुए. मेरे को मेन सेक्शन में जाने का सवाल ही नहीं आता. मेरे को मैक्सी पड़ी खरीदना. मैक्सी से याद आया, तुमने मैक्स का कलेक्शन देखा ऑनलाइन?
ना मस्त
चेक कर भाई, मैंने कभी मैक्स से शॉपिंग किया होगा. ओके, गोल्ड का कलेक्शन वाला गोल्ड स्मार्ट. हाँ,
एंड द कॉस्ट इज सो
मैं मेन सेक्शन खरीद रही थी, उसका कॉस्ट रीजनेबल नहीं होता दीदी. तो वैसा भी नहीं होता. मैं very खुशी रही थी मैं बर्थडे के दिन. मैंने मैक्स से एक टी-शर्ट लिया है. हाँ, एक बैक प्रिंट था उसमें, and it looked so goofy. मैंने खरीद लिया वो भी मेन सेक्शन में. मेरे को वेस्ट साइड के वुमेन सेक्शन के वजह से वहाँ पे सब क्रॉप टॉप मिलते हैं. बस मेरे सारे कपड़े वेस्ट साइड के हैं. मेरे ऑप्शन सारे कपड़े वेस्ट साइड से आते हैं क्योंकि वही होता है.
शॉप फ्रॉम पैटर्न से मेरे घर से होगा. फ्रेंड्स में मम्मी को नहीं पसंद.
हाँ, मैक्स मेरे घर पे भी एक अलग से शॉपिंग फ्रॉम मेन सेक्शन ठीक है, वो ठीक लगता है. वैसा का वुमेन सेक्शन जाना अच्छा है. मैं खाली वैसा ही है, वैसे ज्यादा मैं 9 में खाली वहां से शॉप करती हूँ. मेरे सारे 9 की थी ना, कभी तो 15 की लगती थी. हाँ, मैं 10 की तब से मैं वुमेन सेक्शन में शॉप कर रही हूँ. मैं तो किड सेक्शन में ही हूँ. मैं किड सेक्शन में ही रहूंगी बस. बट नहीं वुमेन से ज्यादा सही है. हाँ, एग्जैक्टली. फॉरेन में इट्स द ऑपोजिट. ओके मैं तेरे को उंगली डाली वीजा का अरेंजमेंट करना 5 मिनट मेरे पास है पैसे हम चुरा लेंगे और गर्ल्स ट्रिप का प्लान हो गया आई थिंक इंसान पढ़ने हमको मेंटली डिसेबल किया है बहुत ज्यादा नहीं बाकी बच्चे कितने नॉर्मल है हां मैं पहले बहुत कर रही थी फिर उसके बाद मैंने तो मैं कैसे बनाया वायर मैंने दूसरा बनाया है इट्स वायर लाइक मेटल वायर I bent it and then दो रिंग्स के बीच में डाल के राउंड किया अपनी साइज का and फिर ये V शेप के लिए how do I explain एक वुडन सेक्शन नहीं होता hello good morning again
We'll start because I don't know where these children are.
the other species has went to consume tea
Tea.
yes
Where will they take tea? Have tea.
Please stop.
right when you get down move to the left and there are stalls over there
Oh my goodness, tea stalls.
should I take you let's get tea
You mean where you have that Tarachand and
yes
all
that place
मैंने सैचुरी करा
Hmm?
मैंने सैचुरी कराया तो
तुम sachet लेके आए थे? Okay. See, we had started with the lesson.
नेल्सन मंडेला
Nelson Mandela. You were there, no?
it's her first class
Is it? And then who else was there?
Sara, she's on a leave for 5 days. She's gone to her native.
Why do I feel I've seen you before?
She comes to class right after your class. There was Hindi, so you might have seen her that.
Okay. Or did you attend one class before this? No? What's her name?
Samadrita.
S-
Samadrita in short.
Sorry, come again.
Samadrita.
Samadrita.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can call me Sam also.
Okay. Samadrita. I would prefer Samadrita. But what is the meaning of the word Samadrita?
Samadrita is like calling someone with add-on.
Okay.
Like in Hindi to say like किसी को प्यार से बोला. In Bengali, it's a word samadar to like add on someone.
Okay. Samadar. Samadrita. Okay.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
What's your name's meaning? Like, if it's not as nice as that, I'll throw you out of the
What's the meaning of your name?
My name is Naisha. Naisha means something special.
Okay. Naisha.
Yes. Everything.
My dad was an engineer, like so he named me after a Sanskrit mathematical term.
Vritika.
Vritik. Circle's arc is Vritik in Sanskrit.
That's
Who let him study math, man? Who let him open the textbook?
मुमकिन लॉर्ड क्रिस्टन का नाम
Oh, okay.
Why am I cracking a term in
मेरा
your
असली नाम सोमेश्वर है
तुम्हारा?
असली नाम सोमेश्वर है पेट नेम मतलब मेरा घर में लोग सोमेश्वर बुलाते हैं
तुम्हारा पेट नेम तुम्हारे ओरिजिनल नाम से बड़ा है.
See, my cousin brother's pet name is Someshwar, but if you write it on an actual document, it sounds too serious. So they call him Anvay.
Okay.
I don't know what got into people to call him Someshwar. The other cousin is Rameshwar.
रामेश्वर कहते हैं
Why? My family has a thing for weird names, please.
Okay. I remember there was this boy in my class and his name was Jayesh. Not Jayesh. What's his name?
कैंसर
Riyesh. And he would say, my father was Jayesh, my father is Jayesh, my mother is Riya. So they combined two names. My name has no meaning. So he said, I hate my name because there is no meaning to my name.
It's just a term. Please refer to me as the term I mentioned. How cute! Riya Jayesh. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
बुद्ध का नाम क्या है बुरा क्या
Exactly. It is a mathematical term. वही पूरा है. तुम्हें अपना नाम एंगल रखवाना था कभी. Right
सर्कल
angle.
वो तुम सर्कल वो
That is me. Girl. Do you want to be right angle? Because I don't want to be arc of a circle.
वहीं सदस्य हो गए।
Fine. So we already started with this lesson.
Yes.
Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. And last time we read about part of his speech
Yes.
on page
We have to start
18.
from here.
Yeah. And now we will be reading about what is there on page 19. We discussed some of the questions also from
Yes,
here, right?
we did the questions.
Now, this is his speech, and this part is his feelings when he was. Should I take you in or should I keep you out? Already ho gaya? So many of your friends are missing today. Okay.
Final left English.
Yeah. So
Daksh is missing. Your favorite candidate, Daksh.
yeah, Daksh and Vyom. Daksh, Vyom and Tanish, you know.
Usne
But
chhod diya.
yeah, he came only for her. And this girl, I mean Naisha,
No,
Sarah.
Sarah. Is Sarah?
Sarah's for English. She's just trying to find a leave. She went to her native place.
वो किधर है? हाँ, answer. वो किधर है?
वो घूम रही है.
No, no, where is her native place?
बी टाइप में रहती है।
उसका native. Good question.
Okay. So you have the textbook? We have. ये हम लोग ने खत्म किया.
हो जी.
एक पेज ही खत्म किया. हाँ, one.
मुकुंद बॉटल के लिए टिकट पीछे वाली.
Now, I was telling them that page 18 is what is an excerpt from his speech, part of his speech, and page 19 onwards, what he felt when he was attending the function. What was the function about?
It was about his presidential ceremony.
What was the?
First black president.
He was the first black president. Hello.
तुम लोग घूम रहे थे वो अभी आया.
वो भी है।
First, he was the first black president. What was the occasion? So what?
It was the
Swearing in ceremony. Okay. Who's
Nelson Mandela swearing in ceremony, but
Yes.
there were also the first vice president and second vice president.
Yes. So while the ceremony was going on, what thoughts went through his mind? Is what?
We read.
No. What we read last time was an excerpt of his speech.
Yes.
What thoughts were going through his mind is what we are going to read now. And you want to read? Okay. Do we have everyone's attention? We are on page 19. Everybody kept their phones outside.
Yes.
A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe at the spectacular array of the South African jets. Helicopters and troops carriers rode in a perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been free and fairly elected. Only moments before, the high generals of the South African Defence Force and police, their chest bedecked the ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before, they would not have been saluted but arrested me. Finally, a chevron of an Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag.
Okay. Understood what happened here? You all have seen your 26th January display. So on 26 January, you see those fighter jets, flying in the sky, and many a times we have the tricolor. They leave the white, green, orange smoke, and to display the flag colors. So he says the swearing in ceremony took place, and a moment later, as they lifted their eyes, they could see this chevron of Impala. Chevron is that V shape. See, they always have that formation, V shape formation, and then they go. And so they went in the sky, and when he was watching, he could see. What does that mean? That meant that the precision, the pinpoint precision of the military display demonstrated the loyalty, military's loyalty to the democracy, the newly elected democratic government. Before that, the heads of the armed forces and the police force, they were all in their bedecked, that means in their complete uniform with their ribbons for their glory, whatever medals they have got. They all stood there and gave a salute to the new president. Who's this new president? Nelson Mandela. And he says, I was not unmindful. That means he was quite mindful. He could, when they saluted, he thought that only a few years ago, would they have saluted him? No. They wouldn't have given a salute to him, but they would have arrested him. Only a few years ago, they would have arrested him just for being a black and trying to act smart or trying to fight for their own rights. So he says, I was not unmindful that these people who are giving me a salute are actually saluting for the democracy. And they are saluting me, but just a few years ago, this is a new change. Just a few years ago, they would have actually arrested me and not saluted me. And finally, what colors do we have on South African flag?
Black, red, green, white.
White is not there. Black, red, green, blue, and gold. Black, red, green, blue, and gold. The new South African flag.
The day was symbolized for me by the playing of the two national anthems and the region of white singing Nikosisiki by Africa and black singing the Diastem, the old anthem of the Republic. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised. They would soon know the words by heart.
Yes. So you know what? When the South African new government was elected, they decided to retain the old anthem and they introduced the new one. The new one was in the Afrikaan, as they call it, language. And the old one probably in English, Latin, God knows. So the whites were singing the Afrikaan, Kosi, Nakosi, Sikele, I Africa.
The K is silent.
No, see, acha, K is silent. Okay. I thought N is silent. No?
It's silent. Okay. Both the words.
No, see, CLL, Afria. If K is silent, then do they say Africa or Afria?
That's a good question. I should have asked my teacher when she taught me.
Okay, no. Probably. I did not check. So
I'm gonna go and ask her this now.
Okay.
Let me be a menace.
So that's the new anthem, and the blacks were singing Die Stem. Both the groups did not know the words of the anthem. Why?
Because it was
1 minute. Here, last bit. Both the groups did not know the words of the anthem. Why do you think so? It was new for them.
One, yes. The African anthem was new for me.
And that's the
Hello.
Some don't take him.
7:30 को नहीं आना है तो सो ही जाते हैं सब लोग, है ना? One minute. थोड़ा questions तो कर लो. Are you lost? कौन आया था उस दिन ऐसे ही उठ के?
वो ऑलवेज है।
वो हर दिन ऐसे ही
वो मैम 11 बजे की क्लास में सो के आता है।
बस ऐसे बाल लेने से
बहुत बाल गीले होते हैं।
Okay. The question was why both the groups did not know the national anthem.
Man, because the first anthem was for the blacks who sing it, and the second was the white anthem, which was black was singing.
Yeah. So
They opposite the anthem.
see the national anthem. This
was a dice.
the dice stem, whatever it is, dice stem. Usually the whites sang it with pride, but the blacks despised it. They hated it. It is like "Long Live the Queen." When India was under British Empire rule, we sang "Long Live the Queen," and people hated it. Those who were nationalists, they hated it. They hated it. So even here, the blacks hated the earlier national anthem. And the other one, that is CLL Africa, that was like the Vande Mataram that our Indians would sing before independence. So that was the anthem in African language that the blacks would sing, and which the otherwise the whites hated. But now they were told to speak. Both the anthems were introduced, and now it is like Britishers are asked to speak Vande Mataram, and we are asked to sing Long Live the
When
Queen.
I was correct.
Yes, you were.
Opposite.
But then we completely did away with Long Live the Queen because we pushed all the Britishers out. The Britishers left. Here the whites remained in Africa. They were living there for many years. So they introduced both the, what do you say, national anthems. Now let's ask someone else. Do you have the book? Very good. तुम ना ऐसे उठ के आया करो बिना कुछ लिए.
मैं वॉल्यूम.
वॉल्यूम से कौन पढ़ता है? वॉल्यूम में सिर्फ क्वेश्चन आंसर्स होते हैं. लेसन थोड़ी होता है.
एक दिन छोड़ दो मम्मी सो के आए.
अच्छा एक दिन छोड़ दो. She is saying Ritika से एक दिन छोड़ दो. मैं हर दिन ही सो के आता हूँ. मुझे कोई छोड़ बिना बुक तुम भी आए हो. No.
Read, you have to read the question.
Vedant. Yeah. Vedant, we are on page 19, third paragraph, last paragraph.
On the day of the graduation, I was told
Sense of. I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. See, he was overwhelmed with a sense of history. He could realize that they are creating a history. After 300 years, they had managed to win the independence. They managed to establish a democracy. He was part of the history. Read. 1 minute. Ritika, I'll have to send you out of the class.
Yes.
So you please do. I don't mind. I don't stop anyone from drinking water as long as they don't disturb the class. You don't even have to ask me. Hey boys, pay attention. Read.
A few years after the battle at Emilio
Board war.
and before my own birth, the white-skinned people of South Africa patched up their defense and
Erected a
system of
Domination.
domination against the dark-skinned people of their own land. The structure they created from the basis of their one of hardship. Most inhumane societies the world has ever known. Now the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man, that system has been overturned forever and placed by laws that recognize the rights and freedom of all peoples, regardless of the color of the skin. Of their skin.
Of their skin. So on the day of this inauguration, he says he could feel that he's living history. That day was etched in history. Why? Because he says in the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer war, almost for 800 years, the whites in Europe, they all joined hands and they established a system to exploit the black Africans in South Africa, not just South Africa, all over Africa. Uh, just to give you a background, the the Vasco da Gama and they all came and they were in search of India. Then they wanted China because they had heard about the wealth and they wanted the spices to trade. You have studied that in your history. They came to India, they came to Asian countries, they occupied the Asian countries, and they started making so much profit. Now it so happened, most of the countries occupied some country or the other, European countries in Asia. They also had found this new land in America, South America. But this greed is so much that now they wanted some more land. So some more land they started exploring in Africa. Unfortunately, the people in Africa, they had their own unique culture, but they were not as organized as people were in India, and they were still living in. See, you can't, because they had their own culture, they had their own kingdoms, but they managed to defeat them. If you ever see, what they had done, the British, they realized that they had fought a lot in Asia against each other, the Europeans. Like in India, if you remember, there were Portuguese, there were Britishers, there were Spanish, there were Dutch, there were French. The Britishers had fought, they fought with each other, pushed the French, pushed the Dutch out of India. Only few places were in their hands. So they fought with each other. They decided to work together in Africa. They literally sat, they opened the map on the table and divided the lands. If you see the map of Africa,
It's in proper line.
it is straight lines. No country is in straight lines. You see India, so many curves. So they did not care what language people speak, whether they belong to the same country, whether they belong to the same region. They did not care about people at all. They only cared about the land, because the land of Africa is a very fertile land and a very rich in minerals. South Africa, gold, diamond mines, cotton, sugarcane grown on large scale. So they only were interested in money. This straight lines has caused major problem in Africa. If you ever go home and see the map of Africa,
Straight lines.
Or the countries' boundaries are like rectangular shapes. They are not countries, they are just pieces of lands divided with names.
I'll show you here. Oh, we can see it here actually. African continent.
हम आ गए
If you see this,
No, it's not funny. Yeah,
Egypt,
Sudan.
yeah, obviously, because that is how the continent is. That is the end of the continent.
Girl, it's in the middle of the
See
water.
here. See all straight lines.
Look at Libya, Egypt, and Sudan. That just shows you.
Just straight lines. This is South Africa, the end part. No country has straight lines unless you divide it that way. The natural country never has straight lines, So, see, it is like, see, in India, we have our unique identity. When Maharashtra and Gujarat was put together, we started saying we don't have same, we eat same food, but we don't speak same language. When Tamil and Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh was put together, they said we want a separate state. When all because they all speak similar language, the Uttar Pradesh had to be divided. The entire Uttar Pradesh, because we have each have our own unique identity, and we want to preserve that. That is what happened here. See Namibia, see Botswana. These are not. There are actually they are very different tribal groups and cultural groups, and they're forced to live together. And why Africa is so volatile? That's because of this, the mess that the Europeans created.
Why can't they?
300 years. Difficult, very difficult. Very difficult. Can you take Pakistan back?
Yes.
We don't
Yes.
want it. We don't
Ma'am,
want
we can take दो मिनट भी कहाँ का वापस वो खुद ही आ जाएगी.
Can we take Myanmar back?
Yes.
We cannot. We
Ma'am,
cannot.
ma'am,
Myanmar
ma'am,
has a completely
GDP.
different
But
identity.
it was part of India once upon a time.
Yeah, but
Ma'am,
it
we
has
can
a
take
completely
Nepal
different
also,
identity.
ma'am.
Because
That's-
people associate with Myanmar.
Array, see, people, that's because it is not there. That's because it is not there with us anymore. But the people of the neighboring states, they identified with the culture of Myanmar.
Yeah, that is true.
We are far off and therefore we don't. So, it's difficult. So here, क्या?
मैम पाकिस्तान को तो पैसे देके भी खरीद सकते हो उसका जीडीपी इतना गिरा हुआ है.
It's
ये खरीदना खरीदना क्या ये
not politically unaware you are.
so, so once you are formed, it's difficult to reform yourself. So all these white-skinned people, they joined hands and erected a system of racial discrimination. So all whites, but just because you are whites, you could rule South Africa. Just because you are black, you were exploited racially. So I think last time I told you how there were different sections in the society, city. Only whites could live in those cities. There were special, smaller areas left for smaller, drier, undeveloped areas left for all the blacks. And if you have to go in the white area, you could not even walk straight. You had to bend and walk at many regions. You could only take up work as as a servant or a menial labor. No high posts were ever offered to the. For many years, they were not even given education. Later, they started teaching them basic education. Then they started giving them. They gave them the opportunity for higher education if they could go out, but there were so many restrictions. They tried their level best to keep them at the base labor level.
Now also because of G20, some parts of South Africa is developed. Others are lived in a very bad state. Like Kenya is developed.
South Africa is another country altogether. The whole
Even in the continent itself, it's not developed a lot.
see, that's what I was telling. The mess is the reason is because the map. That's what they say. Because so many different people are forced to live together where they don't belong to the same kind of culture. They speak different languages. They are like different cultures, but they did not care about this. So therefore, there are many tribes, and therefore there are still many wars. The entire continent was exploited so much. They could not practice. They could not speak their own language openly. They could not practice their own religion. In South America especially, they have burned their religious books. The Christian missionaries would go and they would burn. They would spread the religion. So a lot of exploitation was done, and it will take time for them to come out of it. But for South Africa, therefore he says that it was a great day, where they decided to establish a government and freedom for all people without the color of their skin. Will you read? The day had come about that day.
That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaired. I felt that day as I have on so many other days that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. I was pained that I was not able to
Thank them.
and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had
Wrought. Yes. So he says that this has come, he knows that this has come because of the sacrifices of so many thousands of great people who fought with this system, and they are not here to enjoy the freedom, but because of their sacrifices, they could enjoy or see the day. I could see. ध्यान कहीं और ही है ना? Okay, read.
The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from the profound hurt. But the decades of population and brutality had another
Intended
effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos and the Walter Sicilius, the chief Luthulus, the Yusuf
Dadus,
the Ram Fisters, the Robert
Sokuers of our time.
Men of such extraordinary
Courage, wisdom,
and generosity that their like may never be known again.
So he says that, see, this policy of apartheid. What is apartheid? Racial discrimination that they had introduced. It has a lasting wound on the people of his country, and they say that it will take at least one generation. So people who have experienced that, it is not easy for them to forget. It will take one generation, only the new generation that will be born. See, for you and me today, we don't know what is living under British rule and not having freedom is, because we are born in free India. So he says it will take some time for our South African people to forget the deep wound of the oppression and brutality. But this oppression and brutality gave birth to people like Oliver Tambos, Walter Sicilius, Luthulus, Yusuf Darus. These are the names of the great leaders who fought for the freedom of South Africa. Chief Luthulus. So that is, so because of this exploitation, perhaps it requires
such depth of nation to create such piles of character. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamond.
That's right. What is South Africa's real wealth?
People.
What is South Africa's equality? Yay! What is South Africa's real wealth? What is South Africa rich in? Yes.
Minerals and gems.
Minerals and gems and purest diamonds. Don't give logical answer. Give me the answer that is.
In the book.
Okay.
It is purest diamond.
So it is the people.
No, I said people before reading.
I was asking him, right? I asked him. So he says the country is rich in minerals. It has gold and diamonds, but what is the real wealth? The real wealth is its people. The courageous, generous, wise people of South Africa. That is finer than the diamonds, yes. Yeah, read.
Getting the form is comrades.
Comrades.
Comrades. In the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attack and
Torture.
without breaking, showing us strength and resilience.
Resilience.
Resilience that defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Sorry, I have said it right. Yeah. Over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers
The fear.
that fear.
Okay, so he says that, see, he from these comrades, those who fought for the South Africa's freedom, Nelson Mandela says, I have learned courage from them. So, because he has seen people stand up to attacks, he's seen people stand up to, with resilience to any torture that they were put to, they had to undergo. Who is a brave man? According to him,
One that does not.
Who conquers?
Who is not afraid of anything?
yes. So it's not that a brave man is not afraid. Everyone is afraid. Nobody wants to suffer. But brave man is the one who's afraid, but who conquers fear. Continue.
No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart and its opposite.
Let him ignore him. Let him smile. Yeah. Even in the
grimmest time in prison, when my comrade and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a
glimmer of
humanity in one of these guards. Perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never
extinguished. So here, now, no one is born hating. We are not born hating each other. We are taught to hate each other. At home, you're told not to talk to that girl or not to talk to that boy because he does not belong to our community, does not speak the same language, does not come from the same economic standard. And we are taught to keep distance with people, and therefore we learn to hate. So he says, if you're taught to hate, then you can even be taught to love, because love comes more easily and naturally. So sorry, very good. You come from a very good family, I must say. But in general, we say, we are unconsciously taught to hate each other. So you will see that people don't eat from if it comes from somebody else's house, or there are very subtle. If you eat non-veg, if you're a vegetarian, we talk bad ill about the non-vegetarians. This is the common topic, and it's becoming too much now. If you belong to a particular religion, then we are all taught to hate the people who belong to other religion. So I'm not here to discuss that, but then I'm saying we are taught to hate each other. So we are taught to hate who are not like us, in all of us. So rather, it is easy. He says that we can be taught to hate, we can be even taught to love, because that will come naturally to us. And he says that even when he was in the prison, that time also, when those soldiers or the guards, when they would torture them, even if he would see the slightest glimmer of humanity on some, even if some, while exploiting them, if some guard shows little, kisi, they themselves feel, no, what am I doing, why am I torturing him? If he could see slight humanity on somebody's face, even for some time, he would think that there is hope. That is great. Yes, you want to read? Go ahead.
In life, every man has twin obligations. Obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. And he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country, in a civil humane society. Each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own
Inclinations.
inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was
Inevitably.
ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart. A twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a sibling.
Okay. So he says that every man has two obligations. What are these two obligations? What are these two obligations? Yes.
One to his family and one to the country.
That's right. So one is to his family, to his parents, his wife, his children, and the second one is his obligation to his
Country.
community, people, and his country. Now, a man wants to carry out both these obligations. You want to carry out the obligation, protect your family. At the same time, you want to do something for the country and the society. But in South Africa, a man of his color, the black person, could not carry out both the obligations. You could not, create a better life for yourself and thereby give a better life to your family. You could not, if you try to do something for the society, if you try to fight for their rights, then you are taken away from your family, put in the prison, exploited, tortured. So he says they could not carry out their responsibilities as a person, as a man, just because he was born as a black person. I'll not go into the details. Let's read.
Can I read?
No, I'll continue. I was not continue. No, I'll continue.
Okay.
Don't
I was
argument. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free. Free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clean stream that ran through my village, free to roast
Millie's.
mealies under the stars and ride the broad back of slow-moving woods. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God.
So he says his childhood was fun. When he was young, when he was a child, he did not understand what was going on because his world was very small. He was born in a hunger. He was born free because he lived in that hut. He could run around in the fields as long as his joy was, his freedom was, as long as he was allowed to run around the fields, swim in the streams, ride those bulls, and roast those mealies, play, enjoy. He never realized that he was living in a country where they were exploiting the blacks, where there was something called apartheid. As a child, he never understood that because his world was very small. Yes. Go. His world was very small. As long as he could enjoy and play, he thought he was free. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. Read, Pritika.
I'll read, I can read.
One minute.
It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I please, and go where I choose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family. The freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life.
Okay. Uh, so he says that as a child, he thought he's free. Later, when he became a young boy, he realized that that was an illusion, that was just a dream, that it was not true. That time, I'll have to put you here. That time, he wanted his freedom, but he wanted freedom for himself. He wanted freedom to go out in the night. He wanted freedom to read whatever he wanted. He then wanted freedom to go wherever he wants because he realized that he could not go out in the night. He could not go in the areas. There were restrictions on him just because he belonged to a black skin community. As he grew older, his idea of freedom changed. When he was a boy, he wanted only freedom for himself. Oh no, I want to fight because I want this. And then he realized that there were more restrictions. He yearned for basic, honorable freedom of achieving his potential. He was well educated, yet he could not take up a better job. He was always offered inferior posts, and he couldn't achieve his potential. He could not even earn his keep. He could not earn what he deserved. He could not marry the girl, or he wanted to marry, or he wanted uh, could not have the family of his own choice. Like if a black man falls in love with a white woman, end of it. So, or black woman falls in love with a white man, they could not marry. If a child is born from this marriage, they would take, and if the child happens to be lighter in skin, the child was taken away from the family. The child was taken away. They could not legally marry. Forget it. If a child is born out of their love, the child was taken away from the family and given to the white family to raise. It was that bad. So, therefore, he says that he wanted to lead a lawful life, but he wanted to lead a better life than what was offered to him. Yeah, continue.
But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to becoming a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a loving man to live life like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is invisible, indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me.
Understood this part?
Yes.
He says that, see this, he has shown the transition. As a child, he thought he's free because the things he wanted were few and he could do them. When he became a boy, he realized there are restrictions and he wanted freedom only for himself. Wanted to go out in night, wanted to go wherever he wanted to read whatever he wanted. When he became an adult, he realized he can't do, still can't do, cannot live a life to the fullest of his potential, cannot earn money the way he wants, cannot marry the girl he wants. So there were so many restrictions. Very soon he realized that it is not just he. There's every man who looks like him cannot enjoy any of these freedoms. And they cannot enjoy these freedoms not because they have committed a crime, just because their skin is darker in shade. And that's when they realize, and imagine how frustrating it is that it is your land, it is your country, and some people have come from outside and they are putting you down and not letting you lead a decent life. So he decided, that's when he decided, joined the African National Congress and started fighting for the freedom of all the African people. He says the freedom, this drive to freedom drove him from being a law-abiding attorney to a criminal. Was he a criminal? No. In the eyes of white, he was, because he was fighting against the government. He turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home. 23 years in a jail is a very long time. From a life-loving man into leading a life of a monk. So he says, I am no way self-sacrificing. I never wanted to sacrifice my life. He says, I am no way self-sacrificing man than the next man. None of us want to lead a self-sacrifice. We don't want to sacrifice. We all want to enjoy life. He too wanted to enjoy life. But he realized that he could not enjoy life when he could see that none of his people could enjoy freedom. So he says it was like the chain on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. So understand the sentence that if few people are also do not have the freedom, that means none of the people have freedom. And if all my people are in slavery, then even I am in slavery. So therefore he decided to give a fight. Read the last paragraph. I knew that the same page, last paragraph.
I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of
Prejudice,
and narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom. Just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken away from me, is taken from me, the oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed
Of their humanity. See, this last paragraph is the most important paragraph. If you want to learn something, he says that oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. Now, if we take the example of South Africa, who was the oppressor?
The white.
The whites were the oppressors. Who are the oppressed?
The blacks.
The blacks. Right. So he says both oppressor and the oppressed need to be liberated. दोनों को free करने की जरूरत है. Because the oppressor is also in the prison.
Of his own hatred.
The oppressor is in the prison of hatred. He is in the prison of prejudice. And he is in the prison of narrow-mindedness. The one who is an oppressor, he is not a free man. A man who is free will never oppress someone else. So he's doing this because he's in the prison of hatred. उसको दूसरों के बारे में इतना hatred है. He's so narrow-minded. He cannot see that this person, only the skin color is different, but he is just a man like me. He cannot see that. He's so prejudiced. Right from childhood, probably he's been raised saying that, oh, you belong to a superior race. Why? Because you are a white man. And he belongs to an inferior race. Why? Because he's not a white man. So he's governed, his decisions are governed by hatred, prejudice and narrow-mindedness. तो वो oppressor को भी free करने की जरूरत है. ये सब में से. I'm not truly free if I'm taking away someone else's freedom. Just as surely I'm not free when my freedom is taken away from me. So जो freedom ले रहा है, वो भी free नहीं है, और जो जिसको freedom नहीं मिल रहा है, वो तो free है ही नहीं. So the oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Okay. So let's do the question answers. There is this famous, I don't know if you follow him, but I'm a die-hard fan of his.
अरे वो तो उसके चौड़े को दिखा रहा है
फेलियर दिया नहीं दिया ये बोल रहा है एसएसटी हिस्ट्री है अरे नहीं
Today you don't have Hindi, huh? That much I know.
Yes. The test on Sunday is for English.
Is it?
Yeah, it is not for SST.
Are you sure?
आज थर्सडे को एसएसटी का वो प्रैक्टिस भी करा है
English का क्या था?
आज
टाइम टेबल में
इंग्लिश
English
का
था.
इंग्लिश का
टाइम टेबल में English था.
नहीं
Yeah, no, I don't think. I don't given the portion to anyone.
प्रैक्टिस टेस्ट मैंने तो ये दिखाया एसएसटी
हां प्रैक्टिस
SST का है.
इंग्लिश के नीचे तो टाइम टेबल बनाते हैं
SST का एक भी चैप्टर हुआ. फर्स्ट चैप्टर हो गया.
नहीं हुआ पर तो अभी खत्म हुआ नोट्स भी नहीं
Hey, shoo. Discuss that later.
मैं ये संडे को
हमको अभी
हम
टेस्ट
पढ़े
बदल
नहीं
दिया.
गए स्पॉन्सर
टेस्ट बदल दिया.
हां प्रैक्टिस
Okay. Do you follow Trevor Noah, the comedian?
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
So,
Kevin, he's a comedian.
स्पेलिंग
Stand-up.
कॉमेडियन की स्पेलिंग
Stand-up comedy.
कॉमेडी
he's a South African, he's of South African descent, and he is quite popular, very, very popular. He also, what do you say, was, he used to do stand-up. He is a stand-up comedian. He was also hosting a show in the US, and then he also compared the films, not the film, the Oscar, and so he's world famous. And he carries out tours. to different countries. He had come to Mumbai and he had a show in Mumbai, and then there was one in Bangalore. So, world famous, very, very famous. You should read the book written by him. Very, very. It will give you understand if ever you want to. So, follow or read his book. Interesting.
It's an autobiography.
It's yes. So he was born to the black mother. His father was a Swiss man, belonged to Switzerland, and the mother was a South African. And then how they had to literally hide him because he has lighter skin. That's so. So the name of his book is Born a Crime. So it's quite interesting. What do the military generals do? How has their attitude changed? We are on page 21. Page 21, let's do the questions from there.
The military generals salute Nelson Mandela. Their attitude has a significant change from a few years ago. He thinks that these people would not have saluted him. However, they would have arrested him only for his skin color.
Okay. And why is there change?
Because it's democracy now. Everybody is treated equally. There is no white rule.
Sorry?
There is no
Yes.
racial
And there was no racial discrimination. And Nelson Mandela had become the president.
first.
Yes, first black president. Yeah. So, why? The answer of why you will write. Okay, the answer of why you will write in the notebook or textbook. Notebook. लिखना तो पड़ेगा, आप सिर्फ बात नहीं करनी है. Yeah. No. Open your notebook. Why do military generals? 1 minute. What do military generals do? Salute Nelson Mandela. How has their attitude changed? A few years ago, they would have arrested him and not saluted him. Why? Why के points I'm writing on the board. Okay.
South Africa had become a free country. Number 26.
Are Baba. First question. What do military generals do? You can no, please understand. There are 3 questions in the first question. First 2 parts you can write. There is why. Why is this is the answer of why. So write the answer. You can either write this for why or you can write your own. We'll not write all the answers. Some answers will mark in the textbook, some will. Please. If you are, see, I told you. You can come and sit here. Write the whole answer.
I understand. I did not ask you.
Did you read the question? What is the answer of the first part? Okay, they saluted. They gave a salute. Yes. How has their attitude changed? Why is written here?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
first, if Nelson Mandela a few years back had met these generals, they would have arrested him.
Yes.
Now they're giving him a salute.
So why is this done? How their attitude has changed? Had Nelson Mandela met them earlier, they would have arrested him.
English.
Vedant, right? I'm standing here. Your Vedant, this is also Vedant. Vedant, right? Vedant, what's your last name?
Me.
So Vedant P.
And K.
K. So I'll call Vedant P and Vedant K. You have to write these answers. This is the answer of Y. First two parts you will write on your. हाँ लिख सकते हैं.
I can't continue with another time.
को ऐसे कुछ problem है? Do they know that this is being switched off?
It's not switched off. We just need to move the cursor.
I thought it is being switched off.
नहीं मैम.
In this stream.
वो switched off.
हो गया काफी टाइम तक नहीं किया.
नहीं वो कुछ तो हुआ था वहाँ पे आ रहा था जब.
नहीं मैम.
वो जब turn off होता है खुद से तब आता है. So for a long time it did not do anything.
Are right now we are waiting for you. Why were two national anthems sung?
No,
To show the
even there were white people and even there were because the land is white.
yes. Two national anthems were sung to show the equality and unity among blacks and whites, between black and white. So write it in the textbook only. That second answer, write in the textbook only.
From the stream.
To show we'll tell her. To show the equality and unity, this is the answer to the second question. Why two national anthems were sung? To show the equality and unity among blacks and whites. Either write it in the textbook or in the notebook. You can write it in the textbook also. Yeah. Please write in the notebook. Vedanti, you are perfect.
To show equality and
Unity.
Unity.
Among whites and blacks. What? Note the second answer. Where did you write?
I'll write from here.
Okay, I don't mind as long as you have it written somewhere.
to show equality and unity among the whites and
Right,
blacks.
right near the where the question is. What is the answer? Why the two national anthems were sung?
To show gratitude and unity.
Equality.
To show equality and
Unity, unity among whites and blacks.
Among them, blacks and whites. Was blacks and whites.
Among them matlab kaun?
White and black.
So you have to write the first.
Black is black.
See, we all know we Indians cannot claim ourselves as white at all.
Ma'am,
No, they are also brown, the lighter shade of brown. We are more than a comparison.
ma'am, क्या इंडिया तो क्या हुआ हम साइड वाइड बोल रहे थे रेसिज्म तुम लोगों ने I can also say something. I can also say something.
Now, okay. How does finish writing the second answer?
Finish with the second still writing. It's okay.
How does Nelson Mandela describe the system of governing in his country? In the first decade, in the final decade, in the
I mean, it's always different.
What does courage mean to Mandela?
Courage means to triumph over one's fear.
Yeah. So the courage does not mean absence of fear.
But
It means triumph
over it.
Yes. But to conquer the fear. So write that also in textbook. What does courage mean to Mandela? Courage does not mean absence of fear. That is question 4. Courage does not mean absence of fear. According to Mandela, it is mean absence of fear. But according to Mandela, it is triumph or say winning over fear. Either use the word triumph or use the word winning over fear. This is not your textbook. Better write it in the notebook then. No. But according to Mandela, it is triumph or winning over fear. What is natural according to Mandela? To love or hate? To love is natural. What is natural according to Mandela? To love or hate?
Natural is peace.
That is nature.
This is natural.
No, that is nature.
Why is it hate natural? If someone is like, you don't teach him what is hate, but if
That doesn't happen. We are taught to hate. Third question. How does Mandela describe the system of government in his country in the first decade, in the final decade of the 20th century? What is the answer?
Good.
Yes.
Police.
First decade, final decade.
In the first decade it was oppression and the silence.
Domination against the blacks and creating the basis of the harshest community and influence cycle in the world had never known. But in the final decade of the 20th century, when the blacks are considered their own country, and the states have been overturned.
Yes, shut up.
And replaced by the ones that
There is someone who is born, like a small child is born, and then you put continuously put restrictions on him or her. Then they start getting no. Like it's natural. Then you are not teaching them.
That is a sense of teaching someone to That is exactly what you
Put restrictions.
Like, don't go out.
Why did Rapunzel not hate her mother?
Don't go out. Why? There. No, don't go out. There is always a reason given. No, there's always a reason given. Don't go out in the night.
Like, don't go out. If
Don't
we
go
ask
out,
why,
can you
they
manage
say
that?
why.
That's for safety. Hold your benefits.
Police
Remember,
man.
that's
Remember,
not
you
your
said
plan.
we start na ki why they are not taking people out.
Rapunzel did not hate her mother. She was kept in her whole life.
ये तो ज्यादा हो
Okay,
वो बड़ी बात वाली
I don't know.
Ari-
हाँ
See, the thing is,
We missed the wrong time. क्या करेंगे
what twin obligations does Mandela? Yes. But this is not answered in one sentence. So, what twin obligations does Mandela mention? So, write the whole thing.
Every man has different obligations. The first is to family, wife, children. And the second obligation is to people, community, and his country.
Yes. Answer is on page 21, last paragraph.
Or you can put 25.
So, here you can write page 21, last paragraph.
So, कितने मिनट बाकी? इसमें कितने मिनट बाकी है?
तुम क्या लिख रहे हो? तुमने क्या क्या लिखा? Classwork मगर मार्क करना. Write the answer. Where is your notebook? Twin obligations. Repeat the answer. No, not you. This. You did not tell. Tell the whole thing.
The two obligations are his family and his country. His family is present.
Read that answer.
No, me and
No, you give the answer.
his parents.
After that, you will give the answer.
Everyone.
Read it in your mind, learn it, then tell the answer. Okay? Do you know the answer? Yeah, two obligations.
Where is the answer?
I already told it is on page 21,
Last one.
last paragraph.
No, me and
No, I've asked him. Yeah.
first learn and then I will
अरे हाँ ना भाई हाँ.
He was having an obligation to protect people, community, and his country.
Okay, that is one. And the second one?
अरे क्या कर रहे?
And his family.
And his family, his parents, his wife, and children. So write the whole thing. Okay?
You have to read both.
Okay. Okay, 1 minute. See, you go it in the ascending order. मतलब to his family और फिर family में कौन कौन आता है? Parents, his wife, his children, then obligation to the people, community, his country. Okay? Obligations.
You don't have to
Hey,
read
next time, na, if you don't have textbook, you're going home. I think it is high
I
time.
was searching it from 9:15 to 23. 9:20, but I did not get it.
anything
So that's what.
I'm sorry, 5 minutes.
I was already creating, so I thought of putting it.
This second answer you will write in your notebook. What did being free mean to Mandela as a boy and as a student? No. Write it in the notebook.
Homework?
No, now. How does he contrast these transitory freedoms with the basic honorable freedoms?
I have 10 minutes only left. Try to write now. We are wasting time. We homework.
Yes, sir.
First, tell me what is the answer.
Ma'am,
What did being free mean to Mandela as a boy? I did not give you chance
Ma'am,
to answer.
She read one full paragraph.
What did being free mean to Mandela as a boy?
Ma'am, can I say that we run?
Yeah.
This तक कर रहे हैं। So I am also going to do it.
You're not moving.
So kind boy. बोलाते पड़ेगा। You make it.
We can write this in a very long. You got more.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me the answer.
To Mandela as a young boy, freedom only meant to be able to run around in fields near his hut, to be able to swim in the stream, and to be able to roast. To be able to roast
Millies.
Under the star.
mealies under the star, and also be able to ride bulls on their backs.
And
Half answers. And thinking yourself.
as a student, does he contrast the okay? What was freedom for him as a student
As a student, it meant for him to be able to go out
at night?
at night. It meant to be able to read whatever he wanted and study.
And marry anyone.
No, that was it.
And go wherever he
And
wants.
go wherever he wanted.
Okay.
मैम अभी ये भी लिखना है बुक में।
If you tell me the answer, then you don't have to write.
Ma'am,
Yeah. One mistake and you have to write. Last time you had told me you're not well, you will write everything in the notebook. Where is your notebook? Have you written the homework? Only one answer? Yes. See? What have you written so far today?
You know 21 answers in the book. Rest in the textbook.
I said this answer you will write in the notebook. What did being free mean to Mandela? As a boy and as a student.
Does Mandela think oppressors are free is free?
What is the second part of the question again?
Second part is how does he contrast these transitory freedoms with the basic and honorable freedoms? So,
Yes, sounds good.
ma'am, can you please tell the meaning of the second part of the question?
Exactly what I was gonna ask.
you want me to give the answer?
Yes, sir, for the second
Not
part.
the answer, just the meaning of the question. The second part of the question.
ये भी था। See page number. Where is that answer?
So, how does he contrast? So, when
Ma'am, can you please tell the meaning of the second part of the question?
Yes, I will, but I'm trying to see where that part of answer is.
Once more. This pen.
पता ही नहीं कहाँ वेदांत ने भी थोड़ी देर पहले अरे यो किया है प्लीज आगे मार
Yeah, that is the answer. Later, as a young man, he yearned for basic and honorable freedoms of achieving his potential, of earning his keep, of marrying and having a family, and the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. No, only till that family.
I still don't understand the contrast.
Yes, ma'am, what is the meaning of the question, ma'am?
Exactly.
Okay. How does he contrast these transitory freedoms? These are transitory freedoms, right? When you are small, for you swimming is freedom, for you roaming around is freedom. When you became A boy, older boy, it changed. Then going out at night became freedom. So your freedoms were transitory, changing. Okay, with the basic and honorable freedoms. But why to progress in life, to have a family of your own choice, these are basic freedoms and these are honorable freedoms. Like each one has a right to progress in life. Nobody can tell you, oh, you belong to a different community. You can't do these things. So those are, that is, how did it change? So as a boy, for him freedom was swimming, roasting babies. As a young adult, to go out, young boy go out at night to go and read whatever he wanted. And as he became an adult, he it changed, and for him to achieve his potential, it will become his. To achieve his potential, to earning his keep, to marrying and having a family became the,
He did not have freedom to marry.
like you couldn't marry, you could marry only a girl of your own community.
I want a perfect color, right? Of the girl of his color.
Yes, so you can't fall in love with a person of, in their country, white girl, and marry her. You can have a family of your own choice. Okay, then let's do the last question also. Does Mandela think the oppressor is free? Why and why not?
Mandela does not believe the oppressor is free.
Do you want to answer?
No, it is not.
No. You haven't spoken.
Me.
Okay. No, ma'am, let
He
me
does
answer.
not know how to speak.
Only
You
thousand.
know, what?
Reading the answer.
One minute. Does Mandela think oppressor is free? If you have a textbook,
I have the answer.
mark it. It is on page
The last paragraph of page number 23.
Yes.
I remember it.
last paragraph of page 23.
First of all, only mark.
I am not just only
Yes.
if I am taking away someone's freedom.
Sorry.
I am not fully free if I am taking away someone's freedom. Just only.
No. I is, they have not asked you about I. Does Mandela think the oppressor is free?
No.
Mandela does not think the oppressor is free because
He is trapped in the.
if someone else
He is trapped in the hatred and
take it away and just only
narrow-minded.
Yeah, 1 minute. Don't throw words at me because these words are not going to give you marks if they are not in perfect sentences. Yeah. Nobody is moving till you give me the answer.
Last paragraph read.
As I said, I want the answer in perfect sentence.
Mandela.
1 minute.
He is locked in the bar of.
Ma'am, Mandela thinks the oppressor is not free because a man who takes the man who takes another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Mark prejudice. Mark that answer. If you haven't, then mark that answer. Better write it in the notebook. I'm going to tell Rekha ma'am. He has not done his homework. Please inform home.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. This is second time.
Have you marked? No textbook. I'll call up mummy. I'll ask her to call up mummy to help you find the book.
I'll find it and I'll send photo to you.
Yeah. I'm putting Ritika in charge. Ritika, next class.
Next class अगर मैं
Make
इसका
sure-
बोला नहीं तो किसी का घर पे जाएगी.
Police America.
He has done his work.
Police America.
Next time, better get the book. Tell them to get the book. Next time, we'll be Yeah, yes. What is the next? Another book?
Food grades.
Yeah.
Hey children, get both the books exam. First slide and